Hey guys, welcome back, and we're back with another exciting video. We're going to explain Naruto's first great ninja war, so let's go. There were different conflicts in the Naruto series, yet they might be somewhat bit confusing to keep track of. Here is the first great ninja war in the story clarified. The universe of Naruto has quite often been up to speed in wars. Prior to making the Shinobi Towns framework, the Warring States era went on for quite a long time, if not hundreds of years, and saw one group kill another to acquire power, with Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha making where harmony should thrive in Konohagakure. The other great nations followed them, and along these lines the Shinobi Towns were conceived. Nonetheless, the introduction of Shinobi Towns didn't stop wars. Before long, the world got involved in the first great ninja war, trailed by 3 more. Here is the principle incredible. Ninja battle in the Naruto series separated and clarified. What caused the first ninja war? The first great ninja war included every one of the significant towns in the Naruto world, and was reasonably caused because of a lopsidedness in power between the 5 great nations. Despite the fact that endeavors were made to stop this conflict very early, it seethed on, and in doing as such saw many individuals bite the dust. The conflict at last reached a conclusion with the truce deal. Notwithstanding, to accomplish that, few amazing shinobi needed to take part in the first great ninja war, including a portion of Kage themselves. What were they fighting over? Was it land or power? For what reason didn't the primitive masters choose who becomes a pioneer rather than battling really close to death, since the primitive masters pick who turns into a Hokage? For what reason wouldn't they be able to settle on a general chief? What drove the retaliating during the era of the Warring States was essentially the pattern of scorn, as they for the most part allude to in the Naruto universe. The killing of some adored one or somebody from the family couldn't go unpunished, thus war and passing were consistently near. This cycle was begun, as per the wiki page, as every country campaigned for additional right and land. In those days, the country's shinobi were not yet coordinated into towns, so any current feudal lord, which I don't know existed, would not have control over any groups, so he was unable to drive them to make a detente. Tribes reacted to feudal lords as long as they got paid, implying that there wasn't even a specific association to the actual country. Cash, grounds, and rights at first produced the contentions, and afterwards the pattern of scorn got comfortable. The completion of this era is set apart by the establishing of Konoha by Uchiha and Senju families. The tops of every one of these groups shared the vision that harmony was conceivable up to one could contact the other. The case of Konoha was continued in different nations, in this way making the 5 great shinobi countries, as a way to assist with settling the harmony between these 5 new conceived towns. Hashirama Senju, then at that point first Hokage, who had the option to control Baichu with his wood release methods, conveyed said monsters between different nations. This was finished fully intent on dispersing the force similarly between the nations. Be that as it may, basically as per this page, this may have really expanded threats. This may have been because of the first Hokage's demise, which made Baichu control more earnestly, and which thus led to the putting away of Baichu inside individual Jinchuriki. The above is by all accounts justification the beginning of the first shinobi war, implying that the battling was because of rights, which means a few states or towns were disappointed with the force dispersion, or to the generally said pattern of disdain, which means residents and Kage were disappointed by the way that their kin had been lost, potentially as a result of Baichu going wild or being put away inside friends and family. This conflict was settled with a truce, however not before each of the 5 nations had endured genuine harm. During this conflict, the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, kicked the bucket, however selected Hiruzen Sarutobi as third Hokage first. The first great ninja war, the first Shinobi World War, or essentially the Shinobi World War, was the main significant struggle to happen among the first great shinobi countries. The conflict's flare-up drove the world into a disarray unheard of since the finish of the Warring States period, for which reason there are not many records about the conflict. As per Onoki, the conflict was a consequence of nations and their secret towns taking assets from different nations and different secret towns. Madara Uchiha's interest that Iwagakure be compliant to Konohagakure is suggested to be the main such illustration of this. The first great ninja war began soon after the shinobi towns were made and saw practically every one of the countries partake in it. This conflict began crushing our spirit when Hashirama Senju was the first Hokage of Konohagakure. Hashirama argued for harmony and chose to disseminate the tailed beasts inside the 5 great nations for solidness. In any case, fizzled at doing as such. In the number 1 spot up to the conflict, Konoha's first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, dispersed the following monsters to the next secret towns, something that was examined and settled upon at the first since forever Kage summit. Hashirama and his kindred Kage trusted that splitting the following monsters between their towns would make a force balance, subsequently setting up harmony between them. Albeit, this stopped more modest conflicts. Clashes of the period started to heighten, and Hashirama eventually kicked the bucket in fight. His replacement as Hokage, Tobirama Senju, endeavored to proceed with Hashirama's quest for harmony, yet even his endeavors couldn't stop the start of the First Shinobi World War. Tobirama would proceed to bite the dust during the war, killed fighting with Kumogakure's Kinkaku force. He went about as a distraction so his subordinates could get away. Before he passed on, Tobirama designated one of his understudies, Hiruzen Sarutobi, to be the following Hokage. The conflict negatively affected the 5 great shinobi countries, seriously harming every one of them. Eventually, a ceasefire arrangement was marked, setting up 20 years of harmony between them. The harmony was finished by the beginning of the Second Shinobi World War. Battle strategies created during the conflict would have the most enduring effect, with encounters from the conflict actually forming how ninja do fight in the cutting-edge period. After the conflict, Konoha set up the memorial stone, whereupon it engraved the names of all ninja to kick the bucket in the town's administration. Madara Uchiha's battle against Onoki and Mu further planted doubt among the towns as he needed Konoha to rule. Tobirama Senju took over as Hokage as the conflicts kept on seething on eventually. Kumogakure and Konohagakure were intensely engaged in the battles with one another, and at one explicit point, their Kinkaku unit killed Tobirama Senju. Hiruzen Sarutobi was designated the 3rd Hokage of Konohagakure. In the end, the First Great Ninja War reached a conclusion with a truce settlement and wars halted for some time, notwithstanding the harmony it made was just impermanent. Trivia. As a side note, notice that regardless of whatever reason generated their conflicts, the pattern of contempt is consistently the principal factor for these conflicts. Harmony consistently will in general be impermanent until some country or somebody snaps and achieves another conflict. Anyway, they attempt to settle things and achieve harmony. Numerous individuals are forever discontent with this, since friends and families and confidants were lost to different countries. This consistently achieves strains, and as time passes by and harmony destroys, the littlest things can produce new conflicts. With respect to feudal lords, don't pick a general chief. Other than and adding to all that was expressed above, they need to accumulate them 5 and reach a resolution regarding who to pick. Nonetheless, they'd then at that point need the endorsement of all the jonin from every one of the towns. Given the pattern of contempt that I've focused on a ton here, it would be difficult to have a by and large Kage comparably to the picking of the first Hokage. This led to disappointing from Madara's part, as he didn't care for it anything but a Senju was picked for this position. In any case, never dread when Naruto expects to break the cycle. The finish of the First Shinobi World War reflects the occasions that followed the genuine First World War. The Second Great War was finished with a ceasefire before an arrangement was at long last marked. Furthermore, essentially all nations on the European landmass, the essential settling of the conflict were totally crushed in some way when threats finished. In any case, within 20 years after marking of the deal, World War II would start. That's all we have for now. Do hit the bell icon if you enjoyed the video. Also remember to like, subscribe and share this video. See you folks, and stay tuned to our channel.